My name is Andre Jacques, and I'm the CMO of Wise Parrots, and I'm your host for tonight's webinar. We are a digital boutique group of companies spanning from performance marketing and e-commerce to data science with Innodata, one of the companies of the group, CRM with FeedEasy, education through the WIT Academy, and many other areas of competence. The newest one is Wise Talent, the service any company needs to reach the best talent available in the industries we operate. Today's topic is talent centricity, the approach every company should follow. Not surprisingly, our guests come from two of the most up-to-date and successful companies in this field. On one side of the call, we have Nadia Leal Cruz, Communication and Marketing Manager at Natixis, a former journalist who found her way to the corporate world through curiosity and relationship building. On the other side of the call, we have Patricia Barroca, Director of People at Sword Health, an energetic and results-driven individual for which I can testify, given that we were colleagues for some time in Portugal Business School. And she claims to love people, and we believe, because that's the name of the role. And I will start with very simple questions. First to Nadia. My first question will go to Nadia. And Nadia, you claim that marketing and communication is your thing. What the hell are you doing this webinar then?
So first of all, thank you so much to Wise Pirates for this invite, directed at Natixis. So actually, it's a good question, Andre, because today I can tell you that if I work in marketing, it's a marketing which is totally oriented to people. So I usually say that in terms of external communication at Natixis in Portugal, because we don't have front office here in Portugal, we are really a center of competencies. Everything that we do in terms of external communication is all about EVP, employer value proposition. And this is why employer branding is so important for us. And to market ourselves as a great company to work is really a big priority for us in terms of communication and marketing strategy. So I can tell that I may not be selling a product or a service, but I'm selling a great employer. So this is really part of my daily job.
Amazing. I think that's a good way to start this conversation because it's very much about it. But on the other hand, we have Patricia. And Patricia, you have always worked in the people management field, right? I mean, since the time we used to call it human resources. I mean, come on, aren't you bored, or has it changed so much that you can still cope with it for another decade or two?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Wise Pirates. You are actually disruptive for inviting me because those who know me, I'm not that traditional. Yes, I've been working with people for 23 years. I call myself a professional masochist because it's not actually the easy peasy way to get a career going, but I really do love people. I can't explain why, but I do. And it's been really nice to see how the evolution comes from, as you said very well, Andre, human resources to people. You don't call the employee, or in Portuguese, the funcionário anymore. It's all about people. It's all about humans. And it's been really a good journey to see how this has evolved. And when we say evolution, it's in all the sectors. It's in the culture. It's in how we attract talent. It's a paramount. And yes, more 2 decades I can handle.
So I can assume you'll be coping with this role for another decade or two at least.
One can hope.
Okay, that's great. So, as I said, the topic for tonight is talent centricity, the approach every company should follow. But let's start from the beginning and put a little bit of context into this discussion. I think I'm guessing, and we are all feeling that we are facing times of scarcity. Apparently, talent is not available as it used to be. Is this correct? Do you feel that? And this is an open question to either you, Nadia, or Patricia. You can pick any one of you.
Maybe I can give a quick note, and then I will let the HR experts speak. But yes, of course, the topic of scarcity, and actually it's a good news, because especially here in Portugal, 10 or 15 years ago, this wouldn't be really the scenario. So I think, of course, it's good news. It seems that our economy is much more dynamic, and that we can have a lot of opportunities to people. The problem that we have is that this scarcity focus very specific areas where, in the short term, it will be very difficult to fill in so many vacancies open. In our case, and I'm pretty sure Patricia will mention something similar, but of course, I think it's no news for most people that IT engineering roles are the ones who are most difficult to find, and here we have, of course, a big problem to be tackled, and this is not just a Portuguese problem. Of course, we feel it all around the world, but specifically in these areas, in an increasingly digitalized world where the business needs more and more technology every day, where things are constantly changing so rapidly. This is really one of the key areas where we will need more people, where most of the jobs will be created in the upcoming years. So yes, this is really what we feel at Natixis, because most of our teams are IT related. Then we have the financial areas, and even in some financial areas, we are struggling to find very specific profiles. But I would say that technology ones are the most challenging.
Okay, so Patricia, I'm guessing that we have plenty of football players and politicians, but we are lacking IT people. And is this the case for you as well? Do you feel the same?
Well, actually, football players is a good comparison with IT for the moment, because yes, we are looking, and Nadia said it quite well and pinpointed it. IT is the more aggressive market I can pinpoint at the moment, and this is because Portugal's become a very attractive country to relocate companies, because we have talent, a lot of talent. We have an economy that is payable, I might say, and we're dealing with a clash of Portuguese companies hiring Portuguese talent, and then international companies with their range salaries also hiring Portuguese talent. So it's very harsh, because you have much more offer than you used to have some years ago, and also because I think we've learned a lot with the pandemic, and with all the economy rotation and all the evolution we talked about. It's a positive trade-off now. It's not but it's a bilateral relationship. The candidate wants to come to the company, and the company wants the candidate. It was some time ago. It was like the company could pick whoever they wanted. That doesn't work anymore. It is a trade-off, and it's a very fair one. So we're looking for talent to run the companies, not just to help the people that are there. We are looking for people who will actually drive the companies to success. And yes, there is scarcity, because we are dealing with very aggressive markets at the moment.
So it's quite paradoxical, because I mean, in one way, you see that there is more talent available, but the amount of demand for talent has increased to such extent that it is becoming scarce. So, but what has changed in this relationship? You just mentioned a few things, like now I think the people are able to pick the company as well. That's one. But what other things have changed or dramatically changed throughout the years in this relationship? In this, basically, it's a supply-demand curve. And the dynamics between the two entities have changed significantly as well, I guess. Can you give us some examples, Patricia and Nadia, please?
As I said, I think the whole world changed, and the mentality, mindset changed. It is a trade-off, as I said, and it's another way of doing business. The candidate is a client now. It's not just a proponent. And this is where you have to have a whole new approach, because you have to make the candidate feel like a client. You have to know their needs, their expectations, what employee value proposition actually fits that person. Would those needs fit into what the companies have to offer? And it's a whole new ball game. It's not just matching the job description with the person, maybe one or two pinpoints in the culture, and it's a slam dunk. No, it is the candidate is a client at the moment, and this is why HR and marketing have to hold hands and build the future together, because we cannot do it any other way. It's a whole new ball game. It's nothing like before. Thank God.
So I hear expressions like client and value proposition. So this is the reason, Nadia, you are in this role. Is that it?
I think that's it. Because actually, so we know we have our own employer value proposition, but of course there are tons of other companies with amazing employer value propositions, and of course our job every day is to make sure that we recruit talent, that we have in our team's talent that is totally aligned, like Patricia was saying, with our culture, with our values. So this is really what we prioritize every day when we communicate with our main target, which is talent, potential candidates. This is really the most important thing for us, to be as transparent as possible and to always work on a way to really show people how it's like to work in our company, what are our main values, what are the kinds of benefits and perks we offer, the career opportunities that you can have, your learning path. So all these questions around the offer as an employer are very important to be worked every day and to be shared every day, to make sure that with us we have this the best talent that we can get. And of course we have a lot of competition in the market, so this is why this is the biggest challenge every day.
Interesting. But in other ways, I mean, we are talking about scarcity, but reality is that we live in a very open world. I think the talent pool today is not only regional, but it's global. You have talent available everywhere in the world. Are you internationalizing your efforts in terms of talent acquisition? And by the way, when you do so, to what extent do you adjust your employer value proposition, or is it a global one?
So in our case, so we kept the same employer value proposition, but of course we have, and this is something we need to communicate more and more. We have a full support for employees coming from foreign countries, but this is something we were doing already before. In the case of Natixis, we have 31 nationalities among our almost 2,000 employees. And this is something that we've been trying to work more and more to make sure we are as diverse as possible. But of course, on the other way around, we need as well to make sure that these people feel as included as possible in the organization. So this topic of diversity and the way we really integrate people from different countries and different backgrounds, etc. This was already part of our values. So this was already something that was really on the basis of our culture. In our case, as we have an hybrid work model, this means that even people coming from foreign countries, they will be with us as well in Portugal. So this is why I was giving this example of the full program that we have to support the mobility to Portugal and all the accompaniment that we do in terms of HR to make sure that these employees do a good mobility as relaxed as possible and that they feel integrated at a very fast pace in the organization. So of course, all these topics of remote work. So it's not our case, but for the companies who have the possibility of full remote, if this is really part of their culture, so of course their pool of talent is much wider. In our case, and we are very transparent with that. So we really promote a culture of a lot of networking and physical proximity. So this is why we have a hybrid policy. But of course, especially for companies who do full remote, the pool of talent is even wider. But once again, the competitors are even more if we talk about worldwide. So, of course, the challenges always need to be balanced. And it's not because we are sourcing people everywhere in the world. It's not because of that the challenge is easier.
Okay. And Patricia.
Yeah. I think broadening the spectrum is to move it's not as easy as it looks from the bureaucratical and legal side. We have a lot of partners to help us with that, but it's become obvious that only focusing on the Portuguese market won't cut it. So I think all companies are looking abroad and trying to make it, as Nadia said, diverse, and it actually makes sense for the scarcity, but also to understand new points of view, because new cultures have new ways of working and they will give you that input to work better. So it's a win-win situation at the end of the day. The expression, the global village that we heard like 15 years ago, it actually exists now. And it's what gives you the thrive to learn and do better. And I think all companies are actually trying to broaden their horizons so we can actually live in an inclusive world for all.
Wow. It's interesting because both of your companies are relatively new. Although I think Sword Health probably started later than Natixis, but I'm trying to understand how the culture has evolved to accommodate all this change in terms of remote work, hybrid work, different cultures, people that come from other parts of the world to live here together, hand to hand and hand on hand with other people. I mean, how could you change that fast? I mean, how can you accommodate all this change? What are the efforts? Can you give us some examples of what you do for that?
Well, Sword has been around since 2013. We still call ourselves a startup, but we're going to turn 10 next year. I think as we're 50-50, we have 200 and something people here in Portugal and UK, and the other half in the US. I think the cultural mix was natural because we're a multinational company, we're international. So I think it came naturally, effortless, because at the end of the day, if you think of the purpose, which is freeing pain, what does it make us all? It makes us human, and humans just deal with it with each other. It wasn't an effort. It was something that came naturally. And sort of broadening the spectrum to UK, as I said, other countries too. I think the fit is the person, not focusing on the culture, and trying to understand if that person as an individual actually fits in the organization, and the organization fits into what the person needs, wants, and will add value. The big issue, in my opinion, is that how do you fit people with where they're going to spend most of their time, which is working. And hybrid, full remote, full office, those are all work models that also need to be evaluated for the person. And I think it was one of the pandemic's teachings that all three work. So why discriminate? Let's just make companies efficient.
It's very interesting. I think that what you just said about the focus is on the person and how, if the person really fits, and how the organization can actually adjust to the needs of the individual. Is this the case also in Natixis, Nadia?
Yes, it is. So I was mentioning in our case, we have an hybrid policy. So this allows people to do a mix between coming at the office and working from home. In our case, and we are still a very recent company, so we are here in Portugal with our Center of Competency since 2017. And I can tell you that this culture of proximity, of networking, of doing a lot of internal events for people to gather around, this is something that we've been doing since the very beginning. So in a very organic, natural way, we created a kind of a microculture inside the global corporate culture of a big multinational. But as we were starting from scratch with a very small team and with a huge challenge ahead of us of building such a big team with a brand totally unknown by the time, we really started to have this proximity and this networking I was mentioning, which is really a big pillar of our culture nowadays. So this is really the thing. So this is really what we need to show to a candidate, to potential, and then to a candidate right in the process of recruiting, that this is what it's all about. This is what we represent, and it's important that people feel totally aligned and totally comfortable with our culture. If I can give you an example, we really, and Patricia was saying that as well. So work is really the place where we spend most of most of our time. So most of our time, at least during the week, is spent in work. So we totally believe, and because we have people from so many different countries, because we have people that we know that are not from Porto, for example, we really try to make sure that people can get together, that they can make friends, that they can explore their interests outside work and beyond work. So something that we do a lot, and which is really a proof of this culture of proximity, are our communities. So we have sports communities, leisure communities, communities also linked to IT technologies, for example, to specific topics that people like to develop. So with these communities that we promote and we support, as a company, this is really a way for us to boost this kind of culture and to make sure that people that join us, that if this is an interest, if they really want to network, if they really want to be part of a company which is really focused in offering not only your daily tasks, your job daily tasks, but also other opportunities for you to develop other skills, to explore other hobbies. This is really something that we do, and which is really part of our culture and define us. So as we are approaching these candidates, this is something we really need to do. And of course, and was coming to your initial question as well regarding the pandemic and how this changed the mind of people. This is true. People today, they prioritize their work and life balance. They prioritize the way they spend their off time. So this is something as companies that we need to accompany and to make sure that we offer to the employees, to make sure that they feel as aligned as possible with the purpose they want for their lives, not only their work lives, but also their personal lives.
Nadia, tell us the truth. How many parties do you have over the year?
A lot. I can tell, but you see, so I will give you an example, which is something, it's a party actually, but it's also a celebration of the diversity we have in the office. So this Friday, we will have the Diwali party at the office to celebrate Diwali. We are in the week of Diwali. And the Indians is a community, one of the most numerous foreign communities that we have in the company. So we are going to celebrate this. The Indian community is supporting us in the organization, and we did it the first time last year. And this is an opportunity for people from Portugal and other countries, for them to celebrate something that they usually wouldn't, and for them to have an opportunity of learning new things, learning about a new culture, even if they are inside the office.
But I like to focus a little bit more on the topic of today, which is talent centricity. I think you are showcasing many examples and great examples. I'm a big advocate of customer centricity motto. I like when we bring it beyond and talk about human centricity, because we look at people beyond being our customers and being our clients. We look at them in a holistic point of view as humans with a specific lifestyle that goes beyond trade relationships, but more human relationships. And we talk today about talent centricity. So we think about people that have their own culture, their own lifestyle, their own background, and in the context of the relationship with the company, they have a value added through their talent. Now, but what exactly? How can you exactly define it? What will be talent centricity for you, Patricia?
What is talent centricity for me? For me, it's fresh air, because I've heard companies brag about people first, and there is that very positive correlation that people first means they actually don't do much regarding people. So I think it's honest to say that companies are looking for talent. So kudos for this new wave, because we're being honest to people throughout the whole process. To me, talent centricity is actually getting to know how that person will add value as a whole. Meaning, as you were saying, what background does he bring or her, and what added value? And I'm not talking about just the technical part. I'm talking about the human skills that are just important as the technical, or more, because the technical can be taught. Character comes with the package, as I used to say. And I think the added value is like a puzzle. And as I said before, how does that piece of the puzzle fit into the big picture? And how is it comfortable? Because we've all done puzzles, even if we hate them like I do, and my daughter doesn't like them either. And I don't want to talk about it. If that piece doesn't fit, it will never work. So it's all about looking at a helicopter view and understanding the big picture of the organization and understanding how will everything match together to make it work. And I think one of the big secrets from the organizations I've been and proud to have represented is the sense of purpose. Well, a sword makes it just stupidly easy. Come on, we're freeing people from pain. I have no, it's effortless. But in other companies where it wasn't that sexy, as Nadia was saying, like, come on, finance, God, kill me now. And industry, I'm an industry person as well. If you create the sense of purpose, if the person feels that they're adding value, if they fit into the company, if it all works, it will all come to a very, very positive outcome. And what we're talking talent centricity now, I've been dreaming about this being as common as it is today for the last 15 years. So thank you.
But what does it mean for the companies as well, Nadia?
So actually, I was thinking about an example. I totally agree with what Patricia was saying. Something that, for example, for us to understand as well, this fit, this important fit, and to make sure that people who join us, they really identify with the team and with the project they will be part of. Something we usually do, and it works very well, is to, for example, when we do recruitment events, much more than using recruiters as the main communication channel to really interact and have that first contact with potential candidates, we use really ambassadors from the teams. It can be hiring managers, but for example, if we are talking about a super junior profile, if it was a professional internship, imagine if we are doing an event aimed at this kind of target, we really use in these events real cases, so real employees who did their professional internship in Natixis, and then they stayed, and then they will be the ones sharing their testimony and speaking directly with the potential candidates. So this is really a good way for candidates to have a more honest and transparent vision of what it's like to work in that team, to work for that department, to be part of their project. And this is something that I think it works well and really helps us to make sure that people who will join us will have a clear fit with our culture.
Interesting. So, I mean, I really love the fact that we have a marketeer and a talent manager here, totally different backgrounds, because everything we're saying here is that the world of marketing and the world of people management are merging, right? Because as I hear you, I mean, it sounds like, and when we talk about talent centricity, it kind of triggers the idea of that there is a certain journey there. As you were describing right now, along the journey, we bring at a certain moment a touch point. And that touch point is an ambassador who talks to people and will provide them an insider's view of the organization. And that touch point is important to trigger some sort of effect and to take care of some sort of emotion that the people is experiencing when contacting you. So, I mean, do you really draw all these? Do you draw employee journeys? Do you draw personas? I mean, do you go like, I want to think about João. He goes to TikTok. He has very nice dances. He's not a local. He comes from other side of from outside of Porto, because we want him to move and to be, dedicated to a new lifestyle here. I mean, do you do these kind of things or not?
Well, the persona approach, I think it's been done for years. It just has a more fancy name now, because you do design the profiles that you want for your organization. Let's be fair.
When you think of touch points and let's say employee journeys.
Well, I actually think the journey starts with a candidate, and then it becomes the employee. And as a candidate, as Nadia was also saying, it's important that the person feels that it's a good trade-off. Something that I've been doing also is the challenges for IT we're focusing on are done with the team leaders, with peers, with the manager. So there are interactions because those are the people that they're going to work together. So let's see how they actually work together and see if it fits. Because as said before, you can be technical brilliant. If you're not a team player, it might not work as well as we want it. And then like instant feedback, another good thing that I think should be done in this journey, where you just give your first impressions. It's not the final decision. It's not a blood pact, but like, I like this, I like that. Maybe this, maybe that won't be turn-offs. And it's nice to see that people actually like receiving feedback, and they're a little bit uncomfortable when I ask them for feedback also, because it has to be both ways. So this is where you start the bonding with a person, and you understand if it's going to work as a whole. And then, okay, the person gets hired. How about like giving him the onboarding kits 2 weeks before, so he sinks into to our merchandising, again, marketing and people hands-on together, and start doing that visual journey where the person's going to be. And then, yes, you have a very good and solid onboarding program. You have KPIs defined, 30, 90, 100, whatever days. And you companion the person and understand if it's working, if the piece of the puzzle was the right one, both ways.
I'm assuming, Nati, you also design employee journeys, right?
Yes.
Yes. So not really with personas. So I agree with Patricia, not really with personas, but of course we realize that we have different targets to address. And for example, I was thinking again about this example of recruiting senior profiles or more junior profiles, and talking in a very on a more marketing and communication side. For example, it's totally, if I need to build a recruitment campaign for junior profiles or for senior profiles, the communication channels will be different. Maybe our key messages will be a little bit adapted. So this is something which is key in marketing. So we really need to adapt our message to the targets. And this is just the same thing when we talk about employer branding and when we talk about talent centricity. For us to speak with different targets, we need to adapt our messages. So the values are the same, of course. The core messages are the same, but the way we approach and the way we reach our targets need to be adapted. And speaking about employee journey, a good example I can give is really, and the feedback that Patricia was mentioning as well, we usually do brainstorming panels with employees. For example, if we want to build a recruitment campaign for juniors, we gather a group of junior employees and we speak with them. So in which channels should we use? So what's more trendy right now? Which topics should we address? So to have this conversation, I think this is really part of the employee journey, because we also give people the possibility of participating in the strategy of the company, in the way we build strategic programs for us. So I can really tell that these participations are important when we gather employees as ambassadors to be with us in events, to really give their testimonies on social media, for example. This, I think we can totally say that this is also part of their process, of their employee journey. Usually we pick employees who really have good communication skills, or that want to develop communication skills, that want to really represent the company, be part of specific technology communities, for example. So I think in a nutshell, also involving employees in this big challenge of the company, I think this is also a way really to build their employee journey. And sometimes you never know, sometimes with having these kind of experiences, they also realize which would be the best path for their future step in their careers.
Okay, so let's think a little bit. Let's split the employee journey a bit in different stages. I mean, you have the top of the funnel. You were mentioning campaigns. You have the middle of the funnel where you start engaging. You are in a process of interviewing the person, showcasing who you are, and eventually, in the end of the funnel, this person will actually convert. Will be negotiating the contract and eventually joining the company. But then you also have the end game, which is the person is already there and eventually will stay, will be recommending you, or eventually will leave. What would you say would be the key touch points in each one of these stages for each one of your companies? What are the main touch points in each one? I don't need to know any secrets. We don't want, but we want to feel a little bit what is your thinking process, and what is your experience in this?
I think one little thing that is major and actually works fine is having a buddy system. That when the person joins the company, have someone that's been in their shoes. We create empathy, and the person doesn't feel like they've dropped in a parachute, and that person will actually help the other feel welcomed. Onboardings with more people. Another good example. You're not the newcomer. There's a group of newcomers. They can actually talk together and share how the first day was, what they felt, what they didn't feel. Again, you don't feel like you've dropped in a parachute. Then other things like mentor programs, where you have, as Nadia was saying, the leaders, the seniors, the supposedly wise people will tell you, this is a way to go, do this, do that. What do you think? Share new perspectives, grow together. This in structured journeys will make the difference. When leaving, yes, because people do leave companies, and they don't always leave because they're not happy. It's life. You have to understand why the person's leaving and what you can do better, and that person will help you in the journey of the newcomers. Those two, the starts and the ends, are really important, and the ends are being really valued at this point, to understand how you can actually do better in the long run. And it's such a spontaneous intake that it's priceless. During the journey, you have to have programs that are structured, where you know that André is doing well, André isn't doing well. Why isn't André doing well? Why is André doing well? How can I make André better? And this is something that companies have to own as the purpose. And the people team, it's the major purpose of the people team, is warranting that people are well.
These are great examples of the lower part of the funnels. But Nadia, you guys were unknown, and you built a fantastic top of the funnel and middle of the funnel as well. I think today everybody knows Natixis, right? Well, how did you achieve it?
If you say so, I'm happy, André. Actually, it's funny because the first events we did, we usually ask, oh, so who knows Natixis? And we're like, one hand up in the air. Now it's different. But I think really if I can mention a secret, but actually it's not really a secret, because it's part of everything I was just saying before. As we started, we didn't have social media networks. We had a totally unknown brand. Of course, we had to do some work in terms of PR, because first, before joining the company, people really needed to know what we were really doing, who we were, where were we coming from. But I would say that, especially on the employer branding side, it was very important, all the work that our first employees did. They were really the key ambassadors. I think we can totally thank them for all the work that was done. So employees going to universities and job fairs in the beginning, advertising the company among their network of contacts. So this for us was really key. I remember when I joined, for example, we waited for some time until our head office approved for us to have our own LinkedIn account. For example, we waited for a long time. And of course, nowadays this is a mandatory tool for us to recruit, to do employer branding and recruit. And during that time, we were really asking our employees. We were working with them really to build key messages and to help us spread out the message in their own social networks, so we could really spread a message about recruitment events we were doing, open positions we were having. And I think this was really the most important part of the job done in the beginning. Of course, with our support all the time, but that understanding, employees understanding really the challenge that we as a company had ahead of us by the time. I think this was something special. Of course, we were smaller by the time. This also helped because everybody knew each other, so it was easier really to spread these messages and to work together. But this is really the challenge that we have nowadays. Now that we have three big departments. We have IT, we have banking support activities, and we have compliance. People from very different profiles and backgrounds with very different activities. Now, really, our big challenge is to keep this proximity culture and this responsibility that this group of employees in the beginning really were feeling in their shoulders, to really put the company out there and to make sure that they were showing to their networks who we were, what we were doing, and what our dream was. And Andre, if you allow me, I would just like to add something regarding employee journey. And of course, to work, we are really, I think we are agreeing that work and be very close to the employees all along this journey is very important, to make them feel part of the process in everything that we do. In our case, we don't do business, but we have this big challenge of growing the team, and we really want to keep our team informed and part of the process. But just adding something regarding the employee journey, I think something which is very important, and sometimes we look at people teams like they would have the entire responsibility of making sure the employee does the best employee journey ever. It's not just the responsibility of the people team, but I think here we really need to stress out the importance of the manager. So the people team accompanies the leadership, of course, but managers need to understand that they have a crucial role in making the employee journey as successful as possible, and we can never forget that.
And how engaged are they then?
They need to be super engaged. Of course, it's also part, so the company, and when we think about promoting someone to manager, or when we are recruiting directly a manager from the market, this is something that we totally need to assess if they fit how they really dress the shirt of the company, speaking about football again, but how they really dress the shirt of the company, how aligned they are, and making sure that they will be good spokespersons and they will be good cheerleaders inside their own teams, to make sure people understand the values, the culture of the company, the changes that may occur, and that they really are part of building that employee journey all along the way for all the members of their teams.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great evening, and I see you soon. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye. Thank you,
Thank
Nadia.
you all.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.